The rain hammered against the windows of Hartwell and Associates, as if the sky itself was mourning. I sat in the mahogany-paneled conference room, still wearing my black funeral dress, watching my older brother Marcus smooth his tie with the same self-satisfied smirk he'd worn since childhood. Mom had been in the ground for exactly 2 hours, and here we were, already dividing up what remained of her life. According to YouTube analytics, 99.3% of viewers are not subscribed. That's a huge number. By subscribing the channel that is completely free, you'll help support the channel and never miss fresh content. Thank you both for coming, Mr. Hartwell said, adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses. I know this is difficult timing, but your mother was quite insistent that the will be read immediately following the service. Marcus leaned back in his leather chair, fingers drumming against the polished table. Of course she was. Mom always did have a flair for the dramatic. His voice carried that familiar condescending tone that had grated on me for 32 years. I said nothing. Since Dad's death 5 years ago, Marcus had systematically worked to position himself as Mom's favorite, her trusted advisor, her golden child. He'd moved back to town, bought a house 3 blocks away, visited every Sunday with his perfect wife and their twin boys. Meanwhile, I'd stayed in Chicago, building my photography business, visiting when I could, but never enough to compete with Marcus's calculated charm offensive. Mr. Hartwell opened the thick manila folder before him. Your mother's will is quite straightforward. The house at 1247 Maple Street, along with all furnishings and personal effects, goes to Marcus James Peterson, her eldest son. My heart sank, though I'd expected this. The Victorian house where we'd grown up, where Mom had lived her entire married life, where every room held memories of family dinners and Christmas mornings, all of it going to Marcus. The investment portfolio, including stocks, bonds, and the savings account, totaling approximately $340,000, also goes to Marcus James Peterson. I gripped the arms of my chair. $340,000. Mom had never mentioned having that much money. When had she accumulated such wealth? And why was every penny going to Marcus? Additionally, Mr. Hartwell continued, the vintage jewelry collection, including the emerald necklace that belonged to your grandmother, will remain with the house and its new owner. That emerald necklace. Mom had promised it to me when I was 16, the day she taught me how to clasp it around my neck. This will be yours someday, sweetheart, she'd whispered. It's been passed down through 4 generations of strong women. You'll carry on that tradition. Marcus was practically glowing. He reached across the table and squeezed my hand with mock sympathy. I know this is hard, Sarah. But don't worry, you'll always have a place in the family home. You can visit any time. Visit. Like a guest in my own childhood home. Is that everything? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Mr. Hartwell hesitated, glancing at his notes. Well, there is one small bequest. Sarah Elizabeth Peterson receives her mother's collection of recipe cards and photo albums. Recipe cards. After 32 years of being Mom's daughter, after sitting by her hospital bed during her final weeks, after being the one who held her hand when she took her last breath, I got recipe cards. Marcus chuckled. That's perfect, actually. You were always more sentimental than practical, Sarah. Mom knew what would make you happy. The dismissal in his voice was the final straw. I stood abruptly, chair scraping against the hardwood floor. Congratulations, Marcus. I hope you're very happy. Sarah, wait. Mr. Hartwell called out, but I was already at the door. I drove home to my hotel room in a daze, rain blurring my windshield and my vision equally. How had I been so naive? While I was building my life in Chicago, Marcus had been playing the long game, manipulating Mom's affections and, apparently, her will. The brother who'd bullied me throughout childhood, who'd stolen my Halloween candy and broken my toys, had now stolen my inheritance and my birthright. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling of my generic hotel room, trying to process the magnitude of Marcus's betrayal. It wasn't just about the money or the house. It was about being erased from Mom's legacy, dismissed as an afterthought. Every family photo on those mantels Marcus now owned, every memory embedded in those walls, all of it controlled by the person who'd made my childhood miserable and was now making my grief unbearable. By morning, a plan was forming. I started with the recipe cards Mom had left me, the only tangible connection I had left to her. As I flipped through her handwriting, looking for some small comfort, a loose photograph fell out. It was dated 3 months ago. Mom and Marcus at what looked like a bank, both of them smiling as Mom signed a stack of papers. My blood ran cold. 3 months ago, Mom had been barely lucid, deep in the fog of her medication. I remembered visiting her that weekend and finding her confused, unable to remember if she'd eaten lunch. Yet here she was, apparently conducting complex financial business with Marcus. I called my college roommate, Jessica, who'd become a lawyer specializing in elder abuse. "Sarah, I'm so sorry about your mom," she said when she picked up. "How are you holding up?" "Not well." "Jess, I need to ask you something about estate law. If someone influenced a sick, elderly person to change their will, would that be considered undue influence?" she finished grimly. "It's more common than you'd think, and it's completely illegal. Tell me everything." I spent an hour detailing Marcus's behavior over the past year, how he'd encouraged Mom to switch from her longtime family doctor to someone new, how he'd insisted on handling her medications, how he'd gradually isolated her from her longtime friends. How convenient that her mental decline had coincided so perfectly with his increased involvement in her affairs. "You need documentation," Jessica said. "Medical records, witness statements, evidence that her mental capacity was compromised when she made these changes. Do you know when the will was updated?" I thought about the photograph. "I think I might." The next 3 weeks became a masterclass in detective work. I took a leave of absence from my photography business and rented a small apartment near Mom's house, near Marcus's house now. I interviewed Mom's neighbors, her former doctor, her old bridge club friends. What I discovered made my stomach turn. Mrs. Henderson, who'd lived next door for 20 years, remembered Marcus visiting Mom more frequently after their father's death, but she also remembered raised voices, Mom crying after he left. "Your mother mentioned that Marcus wanted her to simplify her finances," she told me over tea. "She seemed upset about it. Said she'd always planned for both her children to be taken care of." Dr. Morrison, Mom's longtime physician before Marcus convinced her to switch, was reluctant to speak at first. But when I explained my suspicions, his professional concern overcame his caution. "Your mother was experiencing significant cognitive decline in her final year," he admitted. "I recommended she avoid making any major financial decisions. When Marcus brought her to that new doctor, I was surprised. Dr. Stevens has a reputation for being accommodating to family members' wishes." The pieces were falling into place, but I needed more. I spent hours at the courthouse, pulling records. The will had indeed been changed 3 months ago, the same day as the photograph. But more damning was what I found in the banking records I subpoenaed through Jessica's firm. Marcus had been systematically moving Mom's money into accounts with his name on them, claiming it was for easier estate management. He'd sold her municipal bonds without her knowledge, liquidating stable investments she'd held for decades. He'd even taken out a reverse mortgage on the house, something Mom had always sworn she'd never do. "This is fraud," Jessica said when I showed her the evidence. "Clear, documented financial elder abuse. We can contest this will and probably win. But winning in court would take months, maybe years. Marcus would have time to hide assets, Sell the house. Destroy evidence. I needed something more immediate, more decisive. That's when I remembered the envelope. I'd been so focused on the devastating will reading that I'd almost forgotten. After I'd stormed out of the lawyer's office, Mr. Hartwell had called after me. He'd mentioned something about waiting, but I hadn't stopped to listen. I called his office the next morning. "Miss Peterson," he said, sounding relieved, "I've been trying to reach you. There was an additional document your mother left specifically for you. She gave me very strict instructions. I was only to give it to you if your brother was present when the will was read, and only after you'd had time to process the initial reading." My hands shook as I drove to his office. What could Mom have possibly left me that required such specific conditions? Mr. Hartwell handed me a sealed envelope with my name written in Mom's shaky handwriting. Inside was a letter dated 6 months ago, before her cognitive decline had become severe. "My dearest Sarah, if you're reading this, then Marcus did exactly what I knew he would do. I've been watching him for the past year, seeing how he thinks he's manipulating me, how he believes he's so clever in pushing you away while positioning himself as the devoted son. The will he heard read today is fake." My heart stopped. I had Mr. Hartwell prepare it specifically for Marcus to hear. I knew he'd been pressuring me to change my real will, and I wanted to see how far he'd go. When he started moving my money and forging my signature on documents, "Yes, sweetheart," I knew. I realized I needed to protect both you and our family's legacy. The real will is in the safe deposit box at First National Bank, box 847. The key is taped under my jewelry box, the one you used to play dress-up with as a little girl. You inherit everything, as was always my intention. The house, the money, the jewelry, all of it. But more importantly, I've been documenting Marcus's behavior. There's a folder in the safe deposit box with photographs of every forged document, recordings of conversations where he admitted to handling my finances, and sworn statements from witnesses who saw his manipulation firsthand. I've been playing his game, darling, but I've been playing it better. Use this information wisely. Your brother has revealed who he truly is. The question now is, what kind of person are you? All my love, Mom. P.S. The emerald necklace is already in your name. Has been since your 16th birthday. I sat in my car outside the law office for 20 minutes, reading and rereading the letter. Mom had known. She'd known everything and had orchestrated the most elaborate revenge I could imagine. Marcus thought he'd won, but he'd actually walked directly into a trap laid by the woman he'd tried to manipulate. But Mom had left me a choice. I could expose Marcus immediately, send him to prison for elder abuse and fraud. Or I could let him believe he'd won a little longer, let him get comfortable with his stolen inheritance before pulling the rug out from under him. I chose the latter. Over the next 2 weeks, I watched Marcus settle into his new life as Mom's heir. He quit his job, started making plans to renovate the house, bought a new BMW with Mom's money. He even had the audacity to invite me to a family dinner to celebrate Mom's life and our new chapter as a family. I accepted the invitation. The dining room looked exactly as it had during our childhood, except now Marcus sat in Dad's chair at the head of the table, his wife Karen beside him, their twins fidgeting in their seats. The emerald necklace, that was rightfully mine, glittered around Karen's throat. "You look good, Sarah," Marcus said, carving the roast beef with Dad's old carving set. "I was worried about you after the will reading. I know it was hard to accept, but I think Mom made the right choice. I was always more responsible with money." "Oh, absolutely," I agreed, smiling sweetly. "You've certainly been handling Mom's finances very creatively." He paused mid-slice, glancing at me sharply, but I just continued smiling. "I actually have some news to share," I announced, pulling out my phone. "I've been going through Mom's recipe cards, like you suggested, and I found the most interesting things tucked between the index cards. I showed them the photograph of Marcus and Mom at the bank. This is a sweet picture, don't you think? Mom looks so alert and aware for someone who was supposedly too confused to remember my phone number. Marcus's face had gone pale. Sarah, what are you getting at? Oh, just admiring how well you took care of Mom in her final months. So attentive. So involved in her financial planning. I pulled out another photo, this one showing Marcus's forged signature on one of Mom's checks. Your handwriting is almost as good as Mom's. Almost. Karen was looking between us in confusion, but Marcus knew exactly where this was heading. You need to leave, he said quietly. Actually, I don't think I do. I stood up slowly. See? This is still Mom's house. And according to her real will, the one she hid from you while you were so busy manipulating her, it's my house now. The silence that followed was deafening. Even the twins stopped fidgeting. That's impossible, Marcus whispered. I pulled out the keys to the safe deposit box, letting them jingle in the quiet room. Mom always said you underestimated women, Marcus. You thought she was just a confused old lady you could push around, but she was playing chess while you were playing checkers. Marcus lunged across the table, trying to grab the keys, but I was ready for him. I pocketed them and stepped back. The police are very interested in financial elder abuse cases these days, I said conversationally. Especially when there's such clear documentation. Bank records, forged signatures, witness statements. Mom was very thorough. You can't prove anything, Marcus snarled, but his voice was shaking. Actually, I can. See, while you've been playing Lord of the Manor for the past 2 weeks, I've been working with the district attorney's office. They're preparing charges as we speak. I checked my watch. In fact, they should be here any minute. As if on cue, car doors slammed in the driveway. Marcus ran to the window, pulling back the curtains to see 2 police cars and an unmarked sedan parked outside. Detective Morrison, no relation to Mom's old doctor, was walking up the front steps with an arrest warrant. The next hour was chaos. Marcus was arrested for elder abuse, fraud, and embezzlement. Karen screamed at me, calling me vindictive and cruel, while their children watched their father get handcuffed in the living room where we'd once played board games. This isn't over, Marcus yelled as they led him to the police car. You think you've won, but you're going to regret this. I watched from the front porch, my front porch, as the police cars pulled away. The neighbors were all watching from their windows, undoubtedly already spreading the news through the subdivision phone tree. 3 months later, Marcus pleaded guilty to avoid a longer sentence. He got 2 years in minimum security prison and was ordered to pay full restitution, though there wasn't much left to pay back after his legal fees. Karen divorced him before the trial ended and moved back to her hometown with the twins. I moved back into the house where I grew up, converting Dad's old study into a photography studio. The emerald necklace, my emerald necklace, sits in a place of honor on Mom's vanity, where I can see it every morning when I wake up. Sometimes I feel guilty about how far I let it go, about watching Marcus destroy his life while I had the power to stop it. But then I remember the years of bullying, the casual cruelty, the way he tried to erase me from our family story. I remember Mom's letter. Your brother has revealed who he truly is. The question now is, what kind of person are you? I know what kind of person I am. I'm the kind who fights back. I'm the kind who honors my mother's memory and protects what she worked her whole life to build. I'm the kind who understands that sometimes the best revenge isn't served hot or cold. It's served with perfect timing and absolute precision. And I'm the kind of person who learned that my mother was much, much smarter than anyone ever gave her credit for. The recipe cards she left me weren't just recipes after all. They were a recipe for justice, seasoned with patience and served with a generous helping of comeuppance. Marcus always said I was too sentimental, too emotional to handle the practical matters of family business. He was wrong about that, just like he was wrong about so many things. But he was right about one thing: I am sentimental. That's why I kept one photograph from that day. Marcus being led away in handcuffs, his face a mask of shock and defeat. It's not displayed anywhere. It's tucked away in Mom's jewelry box, right where she hid the key that unlocked everything. Some recipes, after all, are worth keeping.